Hey guys, what is going on? Randall419, the man with the million, bringing you another video, this time touching about a subject we discussed on TXR Podcast this past Monday. If you guys didn't know, I'm the host of TXR Podcast. The link is in the description of the video if you want to go to the channel to check it out, or follow me on Twitter or Twitch or all the social media, follow me on Xbox, what have you. So, on Monday, we had a nice discussion about game sales and why they seem to be down. But I didn't really want to touch on that because we kind of beat that one to a dead horse about why game sales are lower this holiday. You know, for instance, Watch Dogs 2 is down like 80%, you know, compared to the first Watch Dogs, or Call of Duty is down 50%. I wanted to talk about Gears of War for a second here. A lot of people I see, you know, tweeting on Twitter or making videos on YouTube or having podcasts talking about if the game is a sales failure, a sales flop, or is it successful. And I've been kind of sitting in the background, you know, minding my own business, but I figured I'd make a video about this because I want to educate the people out there. That's right, I said educate. I want to educate the people out there about what actually goes into making a successful game, and if you can judge a game based on the first month's sales, right? First off, let's get with the notion that VG charts, a lot of people use VG charts, a lot of fanboys use VG charts as a reference to the numbers, and that is, never use that website, okay? VG charts makes up their numbers all the time. They do not have accurate numbers, and I hate when people use that, you know, because a lot of fanboys, a lot of people will use it to either prop up the game they like or tear down a game they don't like. And this isn't going to be a video just talking about Gears. This is the video game industry in general. This isn't like I'm defending Microsoft and Xbox but tearing down Sony and PlayStation. Everything I say here is going to hold true for Sony as well. So, came out. MPDs came out. The numbers leaked. Astronaut Claire, she leaked them. If you want to check it out. The numbers for Gears of War 4 for its first month in sale was like 420,000 retail copies. US. This is just MPD numbers. We do have UK. We don't know exactly what they are. They're between 50 and 100,000 for the first week. But for the first month in October of MPD, Gears of War did 420,000. And then the console sold another 90,000. So essentially it sold like 505,000 copies of Gears of War, right? And I see articles and I see YouTube videos all talking about this and whether it's a sales failure or a flop. And the easy answer is most people have no clue what goes into making a game, right? To even be able to like call it a failure or a success, you need to look at the things that go into the game. Number one, we need the sales data from all the physical sales in every region that the game is sold in, okay? Number two, we need the digital sales figures for all the regions that the game is sold in, okay? And then to go along with that, we need the revenue that Microsoft makes off the physical copies, as well as the revenue they make off of the digital copies, because it's going to be different because there's more people involved in a physical sale. So Microsoft doesn't see the full $60 from a game. Okay, it's more along the lines of like 30 or 25. Microsoft probably actually sees more money from a digital sale. So not only do we need to know the actual numbers for physical and digital, we actually need to know the breakdown of the revenue those individual, you know, those that they provide. We also need the breakdown of the $60 versions and the $100 versions because they sold both of those. And then you start getting into other things. Number one, what is the budget of Gears of War 4? Nobody's going to know the budget of Gears of War 4 except for the studio heads at Coalition, Rod Ferguson, as well as maybe a couple of producers, as well as like Phil Spencer and a few people at Microsoft. What is the actual dollar figure they spent on Gears of War? What is their break-even point? What is the number they're looking for to just break even? What were they expecting? What was their expectations on the low end? What was the expectations on the high end? What was their expectations in the middle? Okay? And then we also talk about games as a service lately. A lot of these AAA games come out and they have extra things. No longer do you have a game that comes out and it's out and that's it. Games nowadays come out and there's DLC. There's free DLC to keep you playing. There's cosmetic items. And Gears of War has a loot box system. Gears of War also has a season pass, right? So how many season passes were sold? What is the breakdown of revenue they get from the season passes? How many loot boxes were sold, or the Gears crates? How many Gears crates are sold, not only in a month, but how many do they sell daily? How many do they sell weekly? How many do they sell monthly? How many are they expected to sell yearly? Okay, what is the breakdown of revenue they get from that? Because I think there was that one where they had to run the jewels, where they had the likenesses of those two rappers. I'm sure they had to license that out. So what is the breakdown of revenue they receive from these gear packs that these people buy every single day, similar to the Halo 5 Rec Pack? You need to know all these things before you can properly assess if a game is a failure or not. And this goes to Sony games, this goes for Nintendo games, or any game, right? It's not just enough to look at a number and be like, 420,000, that's pretty bad. No, because there's so much more going on behind the scenes that me and you don't know about. You know, for instance, what is Gears of War worth to Microsoft as a company? Okay? And what I mean by that is, like, there's a dollar figure, an intrinsic dollar figure that they attach to the franchise that people who normally wouldn't play on Xbox would get an Xbox One to play Gears on. That is an important piece for Microsoft. And then those customers that would only play an Xbox because of Gears, and I don't know how many there are, but Microsoft has all these numbers, all these companies do this. You know, when you think about it, what is that customer worth to them? Because those customers are going to buy games over the course of time. Like a customer today buying it in Black Friday 2016 is probably, you know, I think the attach rate here in America is like 8 for Xbox. So that person's going to buy 8 games, and Microsoft gets a 30% cut. Sony gets 30% cut for theirs. So what is that customer worth it for Microsoft? What, you know, like I said, that Gears means a lot more to them than it just strictly game sales. It means new customers, and those new customers not only buy games, which Microsoft gets cut on, they get subscriptions for Xbox Live. That is $60. That's where a lot of their bread and, you know, they make a lot of their money in. They tell their friends, so when their friends pick up, you know, an Xbox One, they'll tell their friends about it, and they might pick it up. See, it has these intrinsic things that most people don't think about. Like, even if Gears of War is a failure, and we'll never know, the franchise still means a lot to Microsoft because there is hundreds of thousands of people who literally buy the system for it, and then eventually down the road will buy games for it and buy subscriptions for it. Plus, how much is it worth to Microsoft to keep a customer away from Sony, and vice versa? Like for Uncharted, like how much is it worth having Uncharted and the new IPs that Sony does to keep those people away from Xbox and things like that? See, most people don't think about it like that, but I know these companies do. There's just so many things going into whether a game is successful. I mean, Phil and Rod, they're going to sit down and they're going to plot out, you know, the 3-year, what's the expectations for this game for the next 3 months, the expectations for 6 months, the expectations for 12 months, the expectations for 2 years until the next Gears come out. They have all these things, they analyze these things, they predict these things, and they try to do their best. Like, what is the projected gear pack sales for the next 2 years? We don't know these things. And that's why I kind of want to make this video. It's like, yeah, it's nice to look at VG charts and see the fanboys fight on Twitter. Some people say, it's doing fine, and some people are like, it's a failure. But the honest answer is the only people who know are the people at Microsoft: Phil Spencer, Rod Ferguson, Mike Ybarra, the engineers, the senior engineers at Coalition. They're the ones who know, how much money they pumped into the game. Even going to the marketing going to the budget. Did Microsoft get a kickback from Totitos, that like pizza roll company? Did Microsoft actually pay them for the brand to appear on those pizza roll things, or did they pay Microsoft? Because those things happen. So how much was marketing covered? How much was the cost of marketing? There's so many things that go into this. Now, if you want to get into my personal thoughts about Gears when I saw the numbers, I thought it was a little disappointing that Gears of War 4, it was, retail-wise, because we don't know what digital numbers are. I mean, EA says they're 30% or and I'm sure Microsoft is probably a little bit higher because of the Play Anywhere thing, but we just don't know. Nobody comes out with the digital numbers, so it's impossible to like talk about in that sense. We know it's some number, and it's probably around 30 or 40%, but it's just not sure. So I don't like talking about. I mean, it's fun speculating on things, but when you actually get to successes and failure, it's not you know, I don't like speculating about that. But you know, when I saw that number and I saw that the retail first month numbers were lower than Gears Judgment, I gotta say that was a little disappointment. I thought Gears 4 is a much better game than Gears Judgment is, through and through. And the fact that, you know, retail-wise, it sold less than Gears Judgment is concerning. Obviously, I don't have the digital numbers, and I'm sure probably with the digital numbers it sold better than Gears Judgment, but the fact remains, like, you know, the worst Gears game looks like it sold, at least retail-wise, better than Gears 4, which is a pretty good game. I have a review on my channel if you want to check it out. I gave it an 8.0. I think it's a good game, and it's a good building block for the future of the franchise. And honestly, the fact that Microsoft didn't have a press release for the game like they did Halo last year, you know, because Halo came out and they touted that $400 million figure with the console and the numbers and all that stuff, and the fact that Microsoft has said little to nothing about Gears of War 4 should tell you all you really need to know about, you know, if it's a success for them. I mean, honestly, like, I have no like inside information. I'm not sure if the game's a success or a failure. I think it's probably performing on the lower end of their. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably performing a little on the lower end of their projections, but who knows? We don't have access to a plethora of data that matters. We don't have access to digital, which they get more revenue from than physical. We don't have access to how many season passes they sell and the revenue they get from that. We don't have access to the Gears packs, how many of those they sell a day, and how much revenue they get from that. There's so much information that is missing. It's kind of hard to look at those numbers and be like, yep, these are the right numbers, and this game is definitely a flop, and this game is definitely a failure. There's so much going on we're just not aware of anymore, and I just wanted to make that video pointing it out so everybody out there, so people don't start freaking out, because Gears is important to Microsoft for the reasons I listed, because people buy the Gears to play with their friends, buy games in the future, and get subscriptions, and that's worth a lot to Microsoft. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to be pumping out some daily content. I got 2 videos planned for tomorrow. Usually, I think I'm going to do going forward is if I do a review for an ID and Xbox game, an indie game, I'll probably do an opinion piece. So I'm going to have 2 videos for tomorrow. I hope you guys like what I'm doing, and I will see you later.